May I speak to you in my native language, Bostonian, for a moment? You know, I'm not very smart, but I like to think that I'm very clever. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And I had an epiphany. Excuse me. And I have to clear my throat at the same time. I had an epiphany over the Thanksgiving holiday that I want to share with you. And I'm going to entitle this epiphany, Evolution or Eviction. You see, we all like to think of ourselves as being clever, or to put it in modern language, clever, okay? I was thinking about, during Thanksgiving, one of my old buddies, Bobby Sherman, who had more nicknames than anybody you can imagine. Big Daddy, Tank Sherman. He was a big guy, even as a little kid, and he got the nickname at camp in Maine of his Tank Sherman, okay, because he was a big guy. He and I became best friends in high school, all the way through college, and unfortunately he passed away at a relatively early young age, but I think of him often. And I want to share some of the thoughts that I had about being clever that I got from Bobby Sherman, Big Daddy, the Tank. So let me share a couple of these with you. First of all, one of the things that he would do when I would be driving with him, and there was a lot of traffic, and I know none of you ever go through traffic, but when we're in the city, he would drive through the gas station and come out, because the gas station would have an entrance and an exit, two different angles. He would go through one, come out the other, and whenever we did that, he always saved a lot of time, avoided a light in many cases, and was able to eliminate some traffic. Well, I'm a big shot. I had told my wife at the time about that, and I drove through a gas station with her, and a truck had pulled into the other exit, and we were stuck and we were blocked in there, and I can still hear her laughing at me for driving through the gas station. Another one of his tips was, when we would drive on the highway, and sometimes it's bumper to bumper on the highway, you would go off to what we call in the Midwest Oasis, where you drive off the highway and they have little stores and so on and so forth that you can go on, and then there's an exit, and so you save a little time if you drive up there and you just drive right off. You're saving yourself some time. That was one of his clever little ploys. Another one of his clever little ploys, I've mentioned this before, was one time I was in his office waiting to talk with him, and he's on the phone with somebody, and the person is, and he looks at me trying to get rid of this guy on the phone. He's going like this, like, get rid of this guy. And then he pulls out a little tiny telephone about this big, puts it down, hits a button, and it starts to ring. And he says to the guy, you know what, my other phone is ringing. Hey, I gotta go, have a super holiday. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. I couldn't stop laughing at that ploy. Now, I want to think, what's my point here? My point here is that there are significant things that happen in life where there are changes that are never going to go back. I mean, how many of you have a personal blacksmith? How many of you have a cobbler, so that if something happens to your shoes, you go in and they can repair them? How many of you go to a video store or a record store? You follow what I'm saying? I mean, these are things that used to be prominent in society that no longer are. And people make changes as they evolve in life, as I should say society makes changes as it evolves, and we're going through some of those right now this minute. And I'm going to get to my epiphany shortly, all right? But my point is, we go through certain changes that we just have to accept as time passing on. I'll give you an example. One of them is when I communicate with you, Eli, I would say, you know, I sent you an email, and he'd say, Dad, nobody emails anymore. I'm just getting used to emails. Why can't people stay with emails? Now they Snapchat, they Instagram, they all the different things that they do. It's difficult for somebody like me to keep up with all the different things that are going on because there are so many different changes. The pandemic has made so many different changes. For example, I would suggest that very shortly the art of shaking hands is going to be passé. People aren't going to shake hands. They're going to do the elbow, they're going to do the fist bump, they're going to do the Magic Johnson, the finger, you know, like, all right? They're going to do all sorts of different things that they do, but they're not going to shake hands for health reasons. Those types of things happen. Another thing for health reasons that's been accelerated, that was already coming, but the pandemic has made it more prominent, is shopping, of course, online. Everybody, all the way down to the grocery store, where you place your order online and then customer service is no longer making sure that the shelves are stocked. Customer service now is getting the order and delivering it to your car, so you don't have to even get out of your car to go shopping. Not to mention the fact that people are doing their Christmas shopping online now, and Black Friday, you know, the stores recognize, hey, we can't have it where people are beating the heck out of each other trying to get into a store. What we have to do now is make it safe, and so what they're doing is they're putting everything online. They're giving you, you know, they're doing the same thing now. Instead of having the crowd in the store, now the crowd is outside the store waiting for them to deliver your particular order to you in your car. So you can't, the lines are still going to be there. It's just not going to be as physical because you can't beat up somebody's car like you could, you know, take an umbrella and smack them when you're in the store. But I digress. You know, and so the nature of shopping is, it has already changed, and it's evolving into the situation where most of people's shopping is going to be done online. Very little of it's going to be done in person. So, I mean, these are changes that we have seen as certain advances. I mean, now sometimes there's a little monkey wrench that gets thrown into that. Let me give you an example of that. Going back to my buddy Bobby Sherman, you know, we used to be counselors at this summer camp in Maine. Now, you know, in Maine, during the summer, you can have some nights that are very, very, very chilly, that go down into the 40s. Now, the cabins that we stayed in were not heated, obviously, you know, so we would have some very, very cold nights, and so Bobby came up with the idea of bringing up an electric blanket. Great idea. So you don't have to have 28 different blankets. You have like one, you have one blanket. It's an electric blanket. It keeps you warm. You plug it in, boom, you're all set. So he brought up an electric blanket. Except, also in Maine during the summer, you can still have some very, very warm nights. And so one night, as a joke, some of his compadres plugged in his electric blanket and put it all the way on 10 during the hottest night of the year. So he went in, took a shower, you know, before he went to sleep so he could be cool, and put on the blanket, and they plugged in his blanket, and he's there, and he's in bed, and he goes, wow, I'm hot, I'm swimming, all right, until everybody cracked up laughing because they knew why he was swimming, because the electric blanket was all the way on 10. So sometimes the new technology can get in the way. But I wanted to tell you that story because Thanksgiving, you go back, you reflect on people that you know, events that you had, and I thought back about him. But other things that you think about that should be changed that aren't. Now, I'm very passionate as a history major about the Electoral College. To me, it seems to be one of the most archaic things that this country does every 4 years. It's a stupid thing. And when I make my videos here, try to have a short subject, go over it, make a point, and move on, because you can't keep people's attention for that long. So I have a buddy that does some writing that's very, very smart, that was also a history major. And so when we were having right around election day, I sent him a little note that said, I have an idea for you as a writer. Why don't you write something about the Electoral College? And he texted me back and said, you know what? I had that same thought, and that article is in the queue. So I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, because I know my buddy does like just ridiculous amounts of research on things and gets some really good quotes and is a great writer. I was thinking to myself, all right, this will be an easy video. What I can do is I can just plagiarize, give him credit for it, plagiarize on the Electoral College, why it's dumb, why we should change it, why we never do, and then use it. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, and I finally spoke to him on the phone, and I said, hey, what's the deal with that article on the Electoral College? I was planning on doing some very serious plagiarizing on your article, which, as long as I gave him credit, he wouldn't mind that. But he said to me, you know what? It's in the queue, I'm thinking about it, but when you think about people wanting to read about the Electoral College, it's kind of like watching paint dry, isn't it? And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. So I take back my request, for you to do that. My point is that if you're going to do stuff like this, you have to be interesting, you have to be current, you have to be on target with what society is thinking. Now, here's my point of this whole preamble, which has been overly long. One of the things that I'm a major advocate is the benefits of a library. The library is a place where you can be entertained. They have programs, they have, of course, books to read, they have research you can do. It's a place you can get answers. It's a quiet place where you can go be by yourself. They have computers there. I mean, they got a lot of good stuff there. It's a good place. It's a great place. That's what I'm thinking. Yet, as somebody connected somewhat with the library, I see like they need to make some changes. They need to do things more online. They need to do things. I mean, our society has changed from an in-person, especially during a pandemic. It's changed from an in-person to people that react and respond over the computer or on the internet. Why aren't they doing more things that way? And then I had an epiphany. And my epiphany was this. The library is dying. We no longer have to have the things in the library because it's not unique. What is it that you cannot access from your computer or from some other source where you have to pick up your body and drive over to the library? And when I was a kid, when I was a puppy, when I was your age, Eli, the library was a great place to go because they had all these different sets of encyclopedias, and you could do a book report or a report in social studies or whatever research you were doing, and they have all sorts of different unique sources. Well, now you don't need that anymore. My point is that there are certain things in society that are changing from, and the title of this is Evolution or Eviction. And the library is one of the things that's going to be evicted. Somewhere down the road, very shortly, we don't need libraries. They're going to go and something else will take its place, or something else has already taken its place over the computer. Just as Netflix has eliminated video stores, just as downloading music is digital, you no longer have to buy albums. Just as my buddy's little telephone that you would press the button and ring, where he said, hey, I got another call coming in. You don't need to do that anymore. You have caller ID. All you have to say now is, you know what, I have another call coming in and it's a critical call. May I call you back later on? Okay, I mean, there's all sorts of things are evolving, and they're evolving at a very rapid rate. My point is, I need to embrace those. I need to embrace the fact that the library is now in a hospice scenario. The people that run the library are running it like a hospice scenario, and I've been saying, you know what? Why are we running it that way? Let's run the library and have it as a growing entity. Let's build, let's create growth, so on and so forth. And the thought came to me that even if they're doing it for the wrong reason, they're probably right. It is a hospice. It is dying. So one of the things we need to embrace is, just as the handshake is past its time, now we're going to do the elbow or the fist bump. Certain elements of society are going to change, just as we already have seen that change with people shopping. I mean, Cyber Monday is going to be, you've already had it, I'm making this before Cyber Monday, is going to be unbelievably huge. Black Friday was already huge on the computer, not necessarily in stores. These changes are going to be everlasting. The point of my channel is to take things that are everlasting, philosophies, and what makes a person successful. Those things always remain the same. Sometimes the tactics or the tools that you use change, but the philosophies, principles remain the same. So I'm getting ready to make some changes: evolution or eviction. And because we never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.